You know, that usually I have a prepared speech, and if I get anywhere close to that, everybody's fortunate. But it's certainly an honor and a privilege for me to be here tonight to be with the Sierra. I cannot tell you what a wonderful group you are. And the things that you do, and saving our environment, and our trees, and our streams. I mean, this is something that the work that you do, and you've been doing it for all the way back to John Deere, which would be, what, Rob, turn of the century, Aubrey, turn of the century?
Oh, yeah.
1879. Yeah, somewhere along in there. Yeah, and so, you know, the work that you have done and continue to do, it's just, I feel a little humbled actually to be here tonight with you. I really mean that. And so I'm going to talk just a few minutes about some of the things that we've done, and where we are and where we're going. So, and then I have a proclamation for you all I'd like to read, if that's... so, of course, as a mayor, I certainly, along with other city officials, we've worked diligently to keep environmental issues a top priority in our city and our community. One of the first things that we did was we started a Green Jobs Training Center in 2010, where it went regional about 2009, then it went regional about 2010. So they have a bus that goes around and trains people in sustainable green jobs. That started right here in this city. What we were looking for, what we're fighting for right now, some of the issues that myself as a mayor, not only just on a local arena, but I'm on the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and I'm on about 3 committees there. So we're going to San Francisco. I'll be going to San Francisco this June. We'll be discussing a lot of these very issues. One of the things that I learned when I first came into this office was, and again, most of my training has come from stuff that you have trained me in. I mean, I always had a soft spot for environmental issues, but you really, the Sierra Club helped teach me what exactly that means. And one of the first things that I learned was there's 2 things a good environmentalist understands, and that's air and water. Air and water is always, every good environmentalist will fight and protect clean air and clean water. So when I came into this office, I learned at the U.S. Conference of Mayors and through the Sierra Club in 2009 that at that time 35 states was going to have water shortages within the next 10 years, that our aquifers were not being recharged. So what went out, there wasn't enough going back in to recharge those aquifers. That was a real concern of mine, and the droughts, if you remember, began to come on. They said people that have water, we do have a good water supply with Beaver Lake and everything. They said the places where people did not have water, they will be moving to your area, which is going to create overpopulation. So it's very careful on how we develop our properties. So one of the first things that I worked on after the Green Job Training Center, we went to work on a streamside protection ordinance. And I know that sounds like we should have done that in 6 months, but it took us a while to do. But myself and Sarah Lewis, who was a council member, sponsored that particular ordinance. That's one of the finest ordinances, I believe, that we have as far as environmental protection, because we protected those streams now that you cannot build within 50 feet on either side of that stream. Before they could build within about 10. So, and it was not, I can remember, I know that we talked a lot about the civil rights ordinance, that 10.5-hour meeting, but what people don't know, in 3 meetings of the civil rights ordinance, there was about 12 hours of public comment. On the streamside protection ordinance, there was 15 hours in 3 meetings. So there was more discussion on that, which the property rights folks says, you're trying to tell me what to do with my property, and I don't want you being able to do that. And we talked about protecting the streams and keeping clean, slowing that water down to where it could go back into those aquifers and recharge them. I learned, a long time ago that, well, it's not how fast you can move the water off a piece of property, but it's how slow you can move it and let it soak into the earth and recharge those aquifers. And some of the things that we looked at in that ordinance, and it was passed, it's been a wonderful ordinance. We also have adopted 2009 building codes. By the way, we were the first city in the state of Arkansas to pass stream side protection ordinance. We were the first city in the state of Arkansas to pass 2009 building codes. So, myself and another council member sponsored both of those. This past year, through a grant to Keep America Beautiful UPS Foundation, we established Fayetteville's first community orchard. And more than 750 native trees and shrubs were given away to city residents to provide people with a hands-on opportunity for growing and maintaining our urban forest. So, we saw that there was a lot of food scarcity. A lot of people were living in hunger in Washington County. So we started trying to develop fruit trees. So we did this orchard, and we have fought for making sure that every child and family is properly fed. And the food scarcity continues, and that's why we passed an urban agri ordinance last year. And so people can grow their own food and sell their food out of their homes, and you can have bees. I think that's a very good ordinance that we passed. We also are being recognized tomorrow as an Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality Envy Award finalist for natural channel stream restoration projects like Neocoska and help me out here, Aubrey, is that the Westport that runs there?
Westport, yes.
By the
airport.
Yeah. Now, this is another thing we're doing. We're going to be taking, here's some interesting things. We did stream side restoration, so the water looks so clean and so clear. The mayor went down, and I like splashing my face in water, and I got down to that creek to splash the water in my face, and Sandy Foreman says, "Do not put that water on your face." She said, "Because upstream pollutants is coming down." So it was not as clean as we wanted to see it. So I said, that's a concern. So we will be taking over Westport's wastewater treatment plant, and there's been a lot of pollutants going in there. We're going to fix that. Run that thing clean. Yes, Tom.
As a Westport resident, I did hear that's going to happen. We were very happy to hear that fact, because I know they got the best intentions out there, but it is a constant source of aggravation. And the odors aren't as bad as they used to be, and they're doing a few things right. It's still not meeting the standards it should going into the creek.
It is not,
And soon as you all get that and get it clear on the system, the better, we think.
Tom, we're working on that.
It will sure help the Westport.
Because we're going to clean that creek up. Now, I don't know what all's been going in there, but it's not a good thing, and we're going to clean it up. Let's see.
No, that's part of the gang were notorious in the 1840s, and they got cleaned up.
That is true. But, well, also, I want to invite you as an organization. We have an Adopt a Street program for litter cleanup. And if you're interested in doing that, if you contact Brian Pugh, what we do is you pick a section of the street. I work with my labor union, and we clean up a Great House Park, I believe this name of that park. And we clean that. And we clean a section of road. If there's a street you want to clean up, we will do a placement of the Sierra Club sign on the street for your organization that you're cleaning up a certain area if you're interested. We also were the first city in the state of Arkansas to do a PACE program. So we've got that going now. What I wanted to do is people wanted to weatherize their homes. I wanted them, there's a program called PACE, and it's, I can't remember forgot what that exactly means, but here's the way it works. The PACE program will allow, if somebody wanted to borrow against your property tax, and it raises your property tax, say $5 a year, but you can borrow X amount of dollars to weatherize your home. So it's a affordable way for people to be able to weatherize their home. Well, because of something to do with the federal government, we couldn't do that, so we're doing it with businesses first. But now we're trying to get it into the homes. I wanted every homeowner that wanted to weatherize their home to be able to insulate, put in the storm windows, and, you know, if they want to basically borrow against their property tax, they might raise that property tax $5 or $10 a year, but you might be able to do $5,000 worth of weatherization on your home, which you will make that back. And like, I forgot, I wish I had brought those numbers, but you'll make back whatever it's going to cost you extra per year on your property tax in about a month. I mean, it's going to be, that's a program we're working on. Over trails, our trails, we'll have 30 miles of adult-use trails. I think we had that on the ground, 35 actually, I found out yesterday, of those-use trails that we have in the city of Fayetteville. One that I'm working on, and y'all will hear me talk a lot about the box. The box is where we define the growth boundaries, which is crossover on one side of Rupal Road on the other, and you infill from there into the center of town. And another thing we tried to do is to make it a walkable community. That's my goal, to make the city a walkable community. So we've started where, on the map that I have, we have yellow dots on that map, which is school. So what I heard from parents is that it's not safe for my child to walk to school. All you have is, we can't get there. So, and we want to use the trail, we can't get to the trail because we don't have any sidewalk, we have to drive a car to get there. So I said, okay, so we started a sidewalk program, and we had a goal of, we're doing about 10,000 feet a year, and I wanted to do the funding for, 15,000 or 16 or 17,000. So I took the new tax dollars that was voted on by the people, instead of putting mine back in the roads, I put mine back into sidewalks. So a lot of the sidewalk work you're seeing now is actually from that, it's a turnback tax from the state on that tax that was passed a couple of years ago by the people. I turned mine into alternative transportation. They said, everybody else is doing roads with theirs, and I said, well, if it's transportation, can we use it for any mode of transportation? They said, yes, we could. I said, well, I'm going to make mine into sidewalks and trails. So that's what we did with our money. So what we plan on doing is there's a 4-mile radius around each school, public and private. And we're building those, and the circle interlocks with another circle, which is another circle, where every child can walk safely to school is my goal. So most of that's going to be done by 2016. What else? Well, of course, we're going to be restoring the Westport bridges, probably starting this year, which
Yeah, but how about the habitat, community habitat from the National Wildlife Federation that you worked on?
Thank you, Aubrey. I forgot about that. What we're trying to do, we're a National Wildlife Federation habitat community. And what that means is we worked on that. Terry Lane and I worked on that. And what we try to do is that everybody in town, we encourage everybody in town. How many was that we took? About 200 homes? Does that sound about right?
The first year, yeah.
Yeah, first year. So what we try to do is everybody make a habitat for wildlife, like your birds and your butterflies and stuff like that. I would say we needed 200. We had like 250 the first year. So
oh, yeah.
All those wildlife habitat things that people have done on their homes. So thank you all for reminding me of that. Let's see. Okay. I don't know about that. What questions do we have? I have a proclamation here I'm going to read when we get done.
Can you tell us exactly where that rupal extension will come out?
I have my map.
But it's close to
Right
right across here, yeah.
It's going to start there, and it's going to go to the new school up there, which is by the Boys and Girls Club.
Al Creek.
Alfred. gonna go to there. But the connection from there on around, I'm out of funding. But I've got everything else from, say, 112 all the way around the city and back around to Mount Comfort, all the way around. So it allows people to take a bike, walk. Hopefully, I wish we had been able to pass that public transportation tax that we tried. I know I was very supportive of that, and I got beat very badly in that election. But
It's the only one you've lost, right?
Huh?
Practically the only one.
Well, we have a pretty good record. But, we trying to think of some other stuff that we've been doing. But that's some of the things we've done in the last 7 years, 6 years probably, after we kind of got out of the recession. And going to continue to do. And of course, Mount Kessler, the purchase of Mount Kessler, how could I forget that? Which was, I tell you, that was, when I was on the council and that was going to be developed, I had some real issues with that. I know we were going to get 200 acres of parkland, but they were going to develop that Mount Kessler. It's developed. And I really wanted to preserve that piece of property. And that was kind of, when I was on the council, it was sort of a bit of an obsession, and it continued on when I became mayor. And when I came in, I said, well, at least we had preserved the 200 acres for the park to start with. And they said, no, we don't have a deed. So I said, we don't even have the 200 acres. So I had to go back to the bank, start all over again. Now we have the deed for that. And then I was working toward preserving Mount Kessler, and I just did not have enough. I just couldn't come up with enough money. I know Frank came in, and I will tell you, I love Frank Sharp. Frank Sharp was in my office a lot. I said, Frank, I want to preserve it, but I can't figure out how I'm going to get the funding. And, Frank worked with the university, he worked with y'all. Frank, just worked and worked and worked, and that will be something that I learned watching Frank Sharp, that you don't quit, you don't give up. You stay at it. And he did. And today, that's preserved forever. Forever. Our children and our children's children, and I told at the barn the other night, I said, if this city lasts 10,000 years, that land will be just exactly like it is right now. And that's important. If you want to leave a legacy behind, that's one to leave. All of us are going to pass away. We are. They're not going to remember any of us. I said except for Frank. But they're going to walk on that piece of land with their children. And they're going to say, I really appreciate leaders in the city and in the community that banded together to preserve this land for us. You know something, folks, that's a legacy you can really be proud of. In fact, in the last 7 years, we have preserved 625 acres of green space. So with that, I bring you the following proclamation. I hope I have the mayor's picture. Yes. I believe I'll present this to you. You are the president of the Sheriff Club, correct?
I am.
Well, come right on up here. Let me give this to you. And we'll take some more questions if you want. This is whereas the first Earth Day was celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, with the goal of inspiring environmental awareness and encouraging conservation, protection, and appreciation of our nation's natural resources. Whereas each of us has a responsibility to safeguard the environment, understanding and recognizing that a sustainable environment can be achieved through our own individual efforts, education of our community, and our impact on public policy. Whereas the citizens of Fayetteville are committed not only to the protection and preservation of our environment, but also to the restoration of ecosystems and habitat. Whereas the city of Fayetteville continues to focus on becoming a greener city, developing initiatives specifically designed to preserve and improve our city's ecosystems and quality of life therein. And whereas we join today with citizens around the globe to support and celebrate our community's efforts toward achieving and maintaining a healthy, sustainable environment and adopting a lifestyle that conserves the Earth's resources. Now therefore, I, Lioneld Jordan, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, April 22nd, 2015 as Earth Day in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I urge all citizens to join in efforts to preserve the beauty and wonder of the land, skies, and water of the earth and all its diversity.
Well, they molded.
Thank you all. I appreciate you all very much. Now, what other questions do you might have for me?
The Westport, treatment plant? Well, what is the deadline for that, or is there any kind of timeline?
I don't know. Right now, we're working through the contracts on it.
Okay.
We're working. We're working.
Is there anything we can do out in Westport to hurry that along and help?
You know, that's a great question. But
And every time they see me come up to City Hall, they kind of cringe a little bit.
I don't cringe. I think, you know, we're working on that, and I don't know the timeline on that. I did know that some contracts need to be worked out, but there is, it's going to be a significant amount of money because that's been, I don't know how long, Tom, how long it's been like that, and it's been a long time. Because I'll be honest with you, that creek is pretty bad pollution.
Yeah.
But we'll clean it up. We're cleaned up.
Is there, I think, is it part of it getting the pipeline in?
Yeah, they got to run some stuff on their end in the Westport. They're going to have to come up with some cash too.
Okay.
There's a pump that we're going to have to work on. I think it's a pump that we have to put in. But if I should have known that question probably asked now, and I should have got more detail. But if you care to come up to the office, I can give you what I've got and where we are, and I can find out tomorrow. It's just a matter of just calling somebody and getting the information. Because it's something I'm real interested in and have been for a long time.
I can certainly contact the city and try to move that part along.
Yes. What is there that you all think? Oh, I know something I'm looking at right here. And I need your input on this, okay? We got the Arkansas River, and I've been looking at cutting back on the use of large trucks and fossil fuels on the roadway. And we're looking at water trafficking up the Arkansas River. Now, what we've been working on. I've been working on this for years, and I really can't get. I don't know. I could be wrong on this, but that's why I want to throw this out here. We know that we can ship a barge up the Arkansas River for 15 cents a mile. That means all the products that you can load on a barge can be moved for 15 cents a mile and then hooked up by train at 37 cents a mile and brought here into the city. Now, if you look at a gallon of diesel, and I don't know what it costs a gallon, and I'm going to tell you, an 18-wheeler, it doesn't, you're not going to move it for 15 cents a mile. And all the wear and tear and the emissions that does. But for every barge we can float up the Arkansas River, we can take 50 trucks off the road. Now, here's the sticking point. Can't get the large barges up because I have 3 choke points along the Arkansas River, which is going to have to be dredged because I can't float them. So I've got a dilemma. On one hand, we can move the goods cheaper. In fact, we can move the equivalent of a loaf of wheat from New Orleans to Fort Smith for 1 penny. So that means that people that's low income, hopefully that's passed to the consumers, which will reduce the cost on their living, what it costs to live. Gives them more buying power. So that's one issue. Also, if you're going to do affordable housing, you can ship the supplies on that barge, and you can reduce the cost of housing where people can own a home. That's another thing to do. But where I need your expertise is on the choke points. That river's going to have to be dredged to a depth of 12 feet in 3 places. Give me some feedback here.
Would this be the Corps of Engineers that would?
It is. They're good people.
Do the choke points, do the choke points cause, I mean, is it wetland areas that's?
No, I don't think so, but you're going to have to dredge the river deeper. Now, I don't know enough about dredging to know, I know that's not a great thing, but what do you think? Help me out here.
I thought the river was a 9-foot channel.
It is. It needs to be 12, but it's not, but it's deep enough everywhere but in 3 places.
Okay, and how long are the dredging sections?
No, I can find out.
Yeah, and does this have anything to do with the project they're talking about down at the confluence of the Arkansas, White, and Mississippi that they're
No,
trying
it's not
to something
the same.
totally different?
That's a different thing.
That's something they were,
It's about probably $80 million project.
So all the locks meet the 12-foot requirement?
Well, and most of the time it's okay, but there's certain times of the year it's not okay. But you gotta have that 12-foot depth. Now, what I need to know from you all, it's like, and I got another thing too, I wanna run by you all before, don't let me forget about the recycling of it. I wanna ask them what I've been asking everybody else. So, is it a matter of how long it is?
It is, a lot of it is a matter of where they're putting all the spoil, the dredge material, because they have to put it somewhere.
Okay.
And part of that is they like to put it as close to the river as possible, therefore they start filling stuff in.
Well,
That's part of the problem. I don't know right now exactly, it's not that the club always opposes dredging, we don't. But it's dredging that can cause significant damage to wetlands. Like when they
I know
were
what you're
trying,
saying.
yeah, when they were trying
because
to
it creates,
yeah, when they were trying to dredge out the Washita River down South Arkansas, all for the benefit of 4 barges a year, if that much. You know, we certainly oppose that.
Yeah,
But
this
that's
is a lot more,
huge
there'll be a lot more traffic in than that.
And so, but we need to consult with also the Arkansas Wildlife Federation and probably the Canoe Club, because they would be up on this possibly more than we are. But I need, once we know where the locations are.
I can give you the locations, and I can give you the length, and I can
Yeah.
give you the width and the depth. And the first question I asked when we were talking about doing this, I said, does anybody check with the Sierra Club to see, because they know more about this stuff than I do, and you know.
Do they have plans yet for where to put the dredge?
I'll find out.
You know, there's another engineering issue here, and that is that, you know, the river isn't a swimming pool. The bottom is determined by moving low to sediment.
Mhm.
And so those shallow choke points are there